Thank you, Mr. Rambabu. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the sharEvery family members, as well as Gordon Academy also. We are here to meet and to learn from Coach Gordon, and we are successfully continuing our steps. No doubt in that. So, as we are enjoying our journey, so we are here today to meet once again and to excel our knowledge from Gordon Academy. Let us not waste our most of our valuable times. So I'm handing the space to Mr. Edward Gordon to take on the desk. Thank you, Mr. Edward Gordon, and the space is yours.
Thank you, Coach Banneker, for being the host for today. And thank you, Coach Rambabu, again, and the sharEvery Global Foundation for this opportunity to partner with Gordon Leadership Academy and Foundation to be able to provide this level of training, coaching, mentoring, and support to all of you on this platform. We are going to continue our journey, and we're still in the area of strategic leadership. Today, we're going to take a little bit different approach, and I really want you, as you're continuing with your note-taking, to take notes, but also write down some reflections and possibly some questions that you have about the information that I'm going to be sharing with each of you today. Yes, there will be some times that I will be asking you some questions, but the majority of the time I will be sharing a lot of information today, and we will have some follow-up questions and reflections later on. This is a different approach than what we have done in the past. So we are still in the area of strategic leadership, and we are talking about the fact of how to really set the standard in terms of an effective vision, mission, core values, and your goals. So one of the concepts that we have to understand around this is that a school leader understands how to model the school's mission, vision, and core values in all aspects of leadership. This is a key piece of the leader's role. And we're going to move into the second section of 3 based on strategic leadership. And we're talking about the shared commitments to implement the vision and goals. So there's a couple of key pieces here that we want to reinforce. Earlier in our sessions, we talked about stakeholders. We talked about the students, the teachers, other administrators within your school, the staff. Then we talked about parents, superintendent, board of trustee, education members, community partnerships, community members, community organizations, community businesses, the government. All of those are stakeholders, okay? And what I want you to understand is that there are internal stakeholders, and then there's also external stakeholders. Internal are those that are within your building, within the school. External, we want to list them as outside of the building. So when I had you list the stakeholders in our previous sessions, I wanted you to list them bottom up: students, teachers, other administrators, staff, and you as, of course, as a leader. But then it switches over to external, dealing with parents, the superintendent, the head of schools, the school leaders, the school owners, the board of trustees. Those are outside the school, and those are external. So I want you to understand that there is a difference between an internal stakeholder and an external stakeholder. There are different ways that we can communicate with the various stakeholders. We can communicate with them through email, through phone calls, through our social media, through LinkedIn and Facebook, through our school or district website, newsletters, letters that we send home with our students, our meetings with our students and our staff meetings, our meetings that we have with parents and the community. These are the various ways that we can communicate with the various stakeholders. Some stakeholders you will communicate differently than others. So it might not be a situation that members of your community that you can email them. You might not have their email addresses, but they can read and learn about the school through your website and through a community newsletter that you send out or have placed it and located it within your community. So the key part of this particular slide is that you have to be aware that there's various ways to communicate with your various stakeholders. In the United States, this is something that I've learned over the last 5 years when I talk to teachers. Yeah, we learned this in second grade in the United States. I'm not sure exactly when you learn it and teach it in India and other countries, but critical question starters, what, who, when, where, how, why. And for us as coaches, we don't think about it all the time, but this is what we use to ask questions, to dive in deeper in terms of understanding. And some of us have learned through our coaching programs the why strategy. You keep asking why over and over and over. And when you're doing that, you're unpeeling the onion and getting right down to the core of what the issue is. Okay? But these are the critical question starters. And like you said, Coach Sangeetha and Coach Kalyani, if you ask the questions this way, it's open-ended. Okay? It's not a yes or a no. It allows you to get deeper in terms of understanding. And this is what we need to understand. Okay? So when we're trying to figure out some of the challenges in our schools, in our organizations, personal challenges, these critical question starters are really key. All right? So next thing I want to talk about is the fact that in education, when we talk about resources, it's not just financial. Okay? It's not just about money. It's also about human resources, the people, technology. Do we have the technology to do what we need to do? And also, do we have the right partnerships to do what we need to do? So I want us to broaden our thinking about resources to financial, human resources, people, technology, and also partnerships. A school leader understands how to use and interpret multiple sources of data to conduct a needs analysis to identify unique strengths, needs, gaps, and areas of improvement for students and teachers. We have already learned about the various sources of data, okay? Student attendance data, staff attendance data, discipline data in terms of office referrals, suspensions, academic data reference to how the students are performing in literacy and math, the demographics of the students within your school. All that is data that is going to be helpful to you be able to identify what areas we're doing well, our strengths, what areas we need to improve, which group of students are performing better than others. That's create some of those gaps that we talk about. And also what do we have to put in place to improve the performance of our students and also the effectiveness of our teachers. As a school leader, you have to be able to understand how to interpret all the data sources that we talked about initially. Okay, that's what this concept is about. All right. So write down any notes, write down any thoughts around this. We have 4 more slides and we're going to open it up. The next thing. A school leader knows how to use data-driven decision-making, research, and best practices systematically to design and monitor plans, programs, and activities to achieve the vision and goals. Based on the data that you have, and also research of best practices out there to fix some of the challenges you have, you will use that information to make decisions about what you need to put in place to achieve your vision and goals. That is what this component is about. Okay? You're not making the decisions just because of what you feel like doing, what you think is right. You're actually using data to drive your decisions. Write down some notes. Write down any questions or thoughts around this. So next one. A school leader knows effective strategies to facilitate needed change. School leader manages uncertainty and risk. School leader supports the needs of individuals during the change process. School leader communicates the needs, process, and outcomes of improvement efforts. And school leader identifies and knows strategies to address barriers to achieving the vision goals. So how do you manage uncertainty and risk? You manage uncertainty and risk about the changes that need to be made based on the fact that you include people in the process and let them know what the data is saying. When you share with them what the data is saying, it's easier to explain that why we have to make this change in how we're teaching, the curriculum that we're using, the methods and systems that we've in place. They're not working. So that's why we have to make these changes. When people see that and understand that, the uncertainty and risk goes down because it's justified based on what the data is saying. In every organization, there's going to be an individual or individuals that don't want to go through the change. We always experience it. But how do you deal with those individuals? You got to give them more information. You might need to send them, have them attend a webinar, send them to a conference to learn more about it. You might have to mentor them and coach them. So the key thing with those individuals, you have to ask them, like, what is limiting your thinking about this? What's holding you up? What are your challenges? And provide additional support for them to get them on board to the work that you want to do. C, talk about you have to communicate the needs, process, and outcomes and improvement efforts. You have to share with your stakeholders the plan, how we're going to do it. And also, as we're doing this plan, show them systematically every month, every quarter, every 6 months, the progress that is being made based on what you put in place. And the last thing, D, identify and know strategies to address barriers to achieving the vision goals. You have to know your stakeholders. You have to know what walls are they going to be putting up that's going to hinder them from making the changes that are needed. And the only way that you will know that is definitely by understanding their perceptions, their feelings, and what we talked about before. Those surveys, those focus groups help you to establish a plan.
A very insightful session today. I feel so that it's a really like an refreshment to most of the concept which we learned from the past 4 or 5 sessions. It's like a refreshment concept and also a strategic learning, especially for today itself. So whenever, we want to align our values to our leadership styles. Take the example of effective time management. Then what are the internal and external parties which we have to see, and what are the communication styles we have to follow, and how this effective time management is going to align with our organizational vision, mission, and goals, and also how effectively it is going to improve it, like continuous improvements towards the vision and goals, and what are the resources we have to utilize to implement our strategy, both financially, human, technology, right? So like these concepts which we discussed today, and also thanks to all the paratakers who are actively involved today. Thank you so much.